life together, he went to University of Nairobi and convinced them to change her admission. They got married on 10th July 1971 and enjoyed 53 years together. Mami obtained both her Bachelor of Arts and her MBA from the University of Nairobi with the full support of her husband, true to his promise. October 1971, the first child, Pamela Midigo Atieno, who spoke earlier, named after Daddy's mother, arrived and the adventures began. His parents asked him to bring his growing family to his home here in Nyamninia, but Daddy was hesitant as he did not have a house here yet. But his father insisted and even put up a one-roomed grass-thatched home for him. That December, the three of them were here in Nyamninia for their first Christmas, a journey that became and still is a tradition for our family. The journey to Dala was a convoy of 2 cars with his sister Auntie Monica and her husband Uncle Gilbert, who also spoke earlier. When they arrived, Mami pushed Atieno in her pram into the simple home with a promise from Daddy that he would put up a decent house for her. Andrew Onyango arrived in September 1972, and 3 years later, Daddy started building his home.
Let us turn to welcome the Bishop. Tafadhali tusimame. Let us be seated and continue. Continue.
Onyango arrived in September 1972, and 3 years later, Daddy started building his home. He was committed to fulfilling his promise to my mother, so he would travel here to Nyamninia every Friday from Nairobi with fundis in the back of his car and come back on Sunday night. In December 1976, he threw a big housewarming party, and any young man who had not built a house was told that Mudhune's house was the standard that they should follow, a standard that he maintained as he expanded the home to the mature compound that stands today across from the school. Catherine Amondi arrived in 1977, and finally, I arrived in May 1980. The family was complete, and together, my father and mother focused on raising their children. Daddy continued to work hard to provide for his family, both immediate and extended, whom he continuously hosted in his home. During the week, he was very busy, frequently traveling away to accident sites. He traveled a lot out of the country, as I'd mentioned, and though we missed him, there was always lots of joy upon his return, as he would always travel back with full suitcases. Amondi would especially not rest until he would open his bag of goodies, which would include clothes for everyone and all sorts of house items, ornaments, and mementos. When he was home, he took on driving responsibilities, and his brother-in-law, Uncle Peter, states that when it comes to family life, the one thing that stands out for him was that Daddy was always dropping one of us in school or somewhere, or lending him a car to do it for him. Daddy was very strict on time, and when he was dropping you at school, you would leave at exactly the same time each and every day, no matter what. When he dropped you, you would always be early for school. With Mami, that was a little bit different. It was a bit of a guessing game, but that is how they complemented each other. Daddy protected Atieno, Onyango, Amondi, and I. One time, Amondi, who is left-handed, came home and told him how her teacher insisted that she was writing with the wrong hand, and they were helping her correct the issue. The next day, Daddy was in her school asking them to leave his left-handed daughter be. He was firm and disciplined, but not a disciplinarian. He left that to my mother, and she did it very well. As a balance between discipline and kindness, when he used to drop us in school, he dropped the girls at the front door of Consolata Primary School, while Onyango was dropped at Museum Hill and advised to walk to school. When he was asked about Onyango, he said boys need to learn to be independent. When asked about the girls, he smiled and quickly moved along. Bless his heart. Sundays were reserved for family luncheons, and he took us to nice places like Sagret, Tintin, Burger Hut, and any other restaurant that he thought was good enough for us. He would always also take us out on holidays, both in and out of the country. He also liked going to United Kenya Club after work to catch up with friends. There was a corner in the bar, in the dining hall, where he, Benotin, Samotonglo, Obaria Siko, and others would sit and spend time together. Not that they drank much, they just enjoyed each other's company. The reality being that they talked too much to get drunk. They were all graduates of Maseno or Alliance High School, and they often joked that if you did not go to either school, you didn't go to school. Daddy, Uncle Rollins, and Uncle Leonard were also known to tease each other about academic qualifications, especially if you are not from game. In his free time, he liked reading his newspaper in a corner while listening to Beethoven, Mozart, Luo Classic, or BBC News. And that is why we had the tribute at the beginning of the service with the Alleluia. He was an ardent member of All Saints and loved the choir. He loved animals, especially his dogs. He always had a few dogs in his home, and not just your regular Simba. He invested in purebred dogs to keep his home safe. He believed in investments and that you must own something in life. He lived by the phrase, "This is mine," and that we should all try to own the roof over our heads. Daddy, Uncle Jack, and Uncle Zed were known to encourage many to do the same, and Uncle Peter says that when he came back from exile, it was Daddy who encouraged him to buy property that would house his family to date. His community here in Nyamninia was important to him as well, and Daddy was instrumental in starting Nyamninia Secondary School across, where he served as a school chairman. He worked on the renovations of the primary and as well as St. Mark's. Daddy liked to host parties and was always known to have a cabinet of quality drinks. He would never indulge too much, as I said, just a tot or two was enough for him. In the same cabinet, he stored loads and loads of chocolate because Daddy had a very sweet tooth. You heard that from one of his grandchildren, Lily. He loved his chocolate. An indulgence that he later enjoyed with his grandchildren, who would sit with him in the living room and eat chocolate after chocolate. There was one time not too long ago, a bag of chocolate was passed around the room as we sat around telling stories. And my father sat in his corner quietly, which was not unusual. That's what he always did. And after a few hours, maybe an hour or two passed, we turned around to pay attention to him, and the bag was empty. He had finished all the chocolate and the wrappers were on his lap, much to my mother's annoyance, who was trying her best to keep him on the healthiest diet. But he was happy and had a big smile on his face. Young people loved my father as he was a mentor and friend to many. Tim spoke about him earlier on. He gave him a tie for his interview at the Central Bank of Kenya, a job that kicked off his career. For my sister, Tieno, he reviewed her first CV, and he's the one who drove her to General Motors on Mombasa Road for her first professional interview. He stood by his nieces and nephews during periods of loss and reminded them that he was there for them. He took time off from his executive duties to escort Amondi to boarding school on her first day and reassure her that she would be okay. There are many people, as you've heard here, who he housed while they figured themselves out after completing school or while they were job hunting. He also took time to have conversations with teenagers that surrounded us as children, and he had the ability of making people feel seen. Daddy was a refined man with etiquette. Atieno remembers when Senga came for the very first visit before he and Amundi got married, and Daddy actually helped her set the table. He made sure that for each place setting, there was a water glass, a red wine glass, a white wine glass, a fork, a knife, a spoon, a dessert spoon, and his instructions to Atieno were very clear. Once each guest decides what they're having to drink that afternoon, you clear out the rest of the glasses. He taught all of us to eat with a fork and knife from a very early age, and warned you if you tried to pick a piece of chicken from your plate with your hands. There's a question Daddy used to ask. I am very handsome, true? He would ask us this all the time, and there was only one answer to that, true. Daddy was a gentleman. He never wore jeans until Amondi bought him a pair when she was in college. He kept his hair unusually long and had a daily routine to keep it clean, neat, and in place. Clothes in his closet were arranged in such an amazing order all the time. Daddy always had a smile on his face. He was not one for small talk. Everything was gravitas. He was kind and funny. He was smart, serious, witty, and full of joy. Always with a kind word and helpful advice. A wry sense of humor. He used words intentionally and always seemed to understand the humor and wonder of being alive. In 1993, Daddy went on leave pending retirement as his boss at that time, a Nyayo appointment, was not comfortable with him. One morning, while he and I were just hanging around at home in Upper Hill, the police appeared, searched the house, and arrested him. They accused him of passing information to the opposition. Together with his friends, we spent the whole day looking for him with no luck, but around 9 p.m., he just walked into the house. He later made light of the situation, saying that the inmates had made him the boss while he was held, so he had a very busy day. Daddy had started to build a home in Runda, so he decided to move us immediately after this incident. Runda, like the home in Dala, he was hands-on with the construction to make sure it was professionally done. For those who joined us for prayers over the past week and a half, I'm sure you can attest that that is true. As Engineer Samotonglo told us, they started a consulting firm which they ran until 2016. In the last decade or so, our father has enjoyed a quiet life in his home in Nairobi and Nyamninia. He has made memories, soaked in love and good times with his grandchildren who adore him. As a lover of nature, he took walks for as long as his health allowed him to. He listened to music and was now a baritone, no longer a soprano. We asked our mother what traits she saw in her children and her grandchildren that would carry on his legacy. Atieno is quiet and observant like her father and very good with numbers. Onyango got his love for animals, love for physical work, and his affinity for Dala. Amondi is physically framed like him, she's tall, and is loving and generous as he was. While I apparently am a no-nonsense as my father, and I look like him. You heard it from my mother. When I exercise that, I'm just sharing my gift from my father. The grandchildren also picked up his traits with Lily, from their grandfather, with Lily being loving and concerned about people. Mani is sharp and inquisitive. Yala is sympathetic and has his long legs. Willie is reserved and has his beautiful dark chocolate skin. And Joel, the little one, is charming and likes to be left in her space, just like the original Joel. Daddy, Uncle Joel, Kwaru, Engineer, Babonyango, Ogwech, Pungo, Mr. Mudhune. You will be missed, but now you are reunited with Leo, Rolo, Noah, Ben, Luke, Joyce, Walter, Jack, Zed, Agre, your loving mom and dad, and all the fine people you have loved and lost. Rest in perfect peace and watch over us, Daddy. Thank you.
Then sings my soul, my Savior. How great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior, God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou. Brother Boaz for the church. Karibu sana.
First, thank you very much, Brother Saul. You have not disappointed me. You have done it well. Can we clap for Brother Saul? Okay, on behalf of the church, the late Joel was a member of St. Mark's Church, Nyamninia. And because of his membership, the church is what it is nowadays. The church was constructed in 1967, but the design that it has now was redesigned by the late. So the late was not just a member, was a great stakeholder, not even a stakeholder, anybody can be a stakeholder. A duty bearer in St. Mark Nyamninia. And if you look at our choir, they are smart because of Mama Susan and the late Joel. Can we clap for them for that? And another thing, early this year, we sensed something that was wrong. That we sensed that there was something wrong early this year. Why? Every year, when the family come back for Christmas holiday, they normally carry with them calendars for the Christian and even for the villagers. For the last 10 years, I think so, over 300 calendars free for Christians. But this year there was none, and people started asking what has happened. So I think what we are celebrating now is what happened. So we are sorry for that. And another thing that the late told me, one day I went to him and told him that, you know, you are my brother. It is your father who mentored me. Your father was my Christian parent. He taught me. So if my father taught him how to write, and don't ask how old I am. Sawa sawa. So we are grateful for the family. We are grateful, and we hope that support that they are giving the church will keep on. So before I give the microphone to the vicar, may I just recognize members of St. Mark Nyamninia or Nyamnina Parish as a whole. Just stand wherever you are and wave to us. Our choir members, thank you for the work that you have done. Padre Millicent, I think I'm done. Okay.
Tumpigie mwalimu makofi. Okay, first of all, I want to recognize the arrival of our bishops who are supposed to be with us. Karibuni sana, karibuni sana, karibuni sana. At this level, kindemu achoponi, wadu amondo warwak mama. Susan, kendo kindemu warwako mama wabro chung malo mondo wawer mawachoni count your blessings, name them one by one.
First stanza only.
First stanza only, when the life upon. Tusimame.
Tusimame sote. Keyboardist, kwa ready.
Keyboardist. Welcome, Mama.
When upon life belows you, your tempest tossed.
When you
are discouraged, thinking all is lost, count your many blessings, name them one by one,
and it will surprise you what the Lord has done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God has done.
Count your blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done.
Mama Susan. Hey, it's too close.
Praise the Lord, everybody. God is good, and all the time. Wow, thank you very much. To the church, the choir, and fellow mourners. I hope you can hear me, and Susie and Luam, I'm talking. You know, I'm a disciplinarian. Yeah. First of all, I won't make a long speech because the story has been told. And I asked for that hymn because although in the midst of all this, there's a lot to thank God for. On 10th of July this year, we would have been married for 53 years. And during those years, we have known a lot of happiness, a lot of blessings, but also some trials. And this is perhaps the biggest trial that we've gone through. But with you and all those we love, our family, our community, our relatives, our professional friends, and everybody else who knew engineer, they've given us a lot of comfort, a lot of courage to go through this. I don't know what tomorrow will bring after we have laid down. Maybe it would be a lot more difficult, but we trust that God will see us through. So I have a small, some notes that I put down. As I say, I want to really appreciate all those who have been with us, not only over this period, but even for a longer time. My friends, the family, my neighbors, both in Runda and here in Nyamninia, all you have shown us is love and concern. The OCP group, SCK Church, especially SCK Church in Nairobi, led by Canon Adolwa, who is here with us. Canon was actually with us on the night that engineer passed on at around 12:30 in the morning of Wednesday, Tuesday 16th. And he was there with us. And Canon Omondi, who is not here today, but who has worked with Joel over the years during his sickness, and they've been great friends. I would also want to thank the caregivers who became part of our family. I don't know whether they are here. Sam, Wesley, and Mutua. Are you here? But oh, they are there. Those three people have been wonderful to us. I want also to thank those who have provided resources to help us give Joel. I hope it is befitting for him. He had set very high standards, and he loved beautiful things. Maybe that's why he loved me. So I really want to thank the committee led by a very able chairman, John Okulo. And as you've heard, John is a son of Uncle Noah. John, where are you? He's done a very wonderful job burning the midnight oil to make sure that everything is in place. I didn't realize that putting up a funeral celebration like this one really needed a lot of attention. But I left it to John and his team, and I can't say how grateful as a family we are. I also want to thank those who showed up for the fundraising. You are wonderful people. Abala Wanga was the guest of honor. Abala is there. Ambrose Rachier, Meshak Ndolo, who is from Seme. So Seme is still shining. And the third one was Luanda. Luanda is a friend. And all those who contributed and gave support in various ways. Thank you very much. You are such generous people. And I want to thank also our staff in Dala. They've kept the home going. we were not here in December, but Victor and his team, is Victor here? Victor and Agan. Victor, maybe they are busy somewhere at the back, but Victor and Agan, I really want to appreciate them because really they have been very committed to keeping that home running the way the owner would have wanted it to be. I want also to thank, whom shall I thank again? My immediate family from Seme, Peter, Dorothy, and the rest of the gang. They've been very close to Joel, and they've really helped us a lot. Peter brought a lot of his colleagues, his other family, he says, to help us to raise funds for the activities that partly we see today. The choir, Mr. Sewe, I think you really helped us go through a very hard time. Last night, they sang throughout the night, and it was such a wonderful time. And you have seen the performance that he has done today. Thank you very much. To Joel's professional friends and colleagues, Shemo Duod, Engineer Tonglo, Oloch, and the OCP group, constantly visiting home or just checking how we are, calling, and I just realized how you really cherished your friend, Dr. Loach. I'm sorry the last time they came home, I was not there, and whoever was there thought that his friend was sleeping and could not be woken up. But that was okay. It's the thoughts that counts. So I want to just read a small tribute to my friend Joel. It was difficult to put anything together because it's a long time, lots of experience, very happy experience, and we cannot say enough on his contribution to our lives as a family. First of all, I want to say Joel was born to live and love people. He just didn't love us, but he loved anybody who crossed his path, who was solid. He didn't like nonsense. So if you are solid, that you had something to tell him, you'd be his friend. And for that reason, some people thought that he was unapproachable and distant, but maybe it's because that your chemistry and his were not, rhyming. And he gave us, for us as a family, he gave us generously and had a deep soul that looked up to God and cared for nature around him. Joel will not let anyone cut any of his trees, and those who have gone to his home can see that some of those trees are over mature and they should come down. Professor Wino one day went around our compound and showed us which trees we must bring down. But later on, when the professional advice passed, he said, there's no way I'm going to cut any of my trees. I inherited from my father and my grandfather, and they are going to stay there. So I don't know going forward whether we are going to live by that. He also loved his dogs, as been mentioned. I think if you are a dog and you are his pet, you will be the luckiest person. So the first thing he would ask when he came home at the end of the day, at the door, if I open the door for him, and he asked me, have the dogs eaten? I used to get offended because I thought he should have been asking me about the children. But his reason was that he trusted me to feed the children, and if the children were not fed, he would complain. They would complain to him. He was very consistent, predictable, and set very high standards that we will endeavor to keep. He carried his engineering profession even with precision, even at home. If you went to Joel's closet, everything was arranged in order. You would know, if he sends you to his closet, you would know where the handkerchiefs are, where his socks are, where his ties are, where his shirts are, and they were arranged in order of their colors. And where his suits were put. And I just wondered, how do you do this? Can you do for me too? And he said, yours is chaos. There's nothing. And one knows that. Yeah, so those are, he lived what he said, or he practiced what he learned. And his wish that all people around him would do the same. But, we are all born differently. We cannot be that orderly. When he was sick, that calmness never left him, and that caring spirit. He made it so easy for us to nurse him. He was not demanding. All he wanted was to listen to his Mozart or Beethoven, or sometimes Nyatiti. But during his last days, he just wanted to listen to classical music. And the nurses that helped him also learned what he liked, and they knew how to give him the music that he wanted at the appropriate time. So I can just summarize that over the years, I have cherished you, my dearest Joel, not only as a caring head of the family, but also a dear friend and confidant. As I say, this year we would have had a big bash to celebrate our wedding anniversary, the 53rd one. But this is the celebration we now have. And I hope we are giving him the celebration that he deserves. As we grieve your departure, I thank God that you crossed my path over those many years ago, stopped and let me walk along with you as we build our family. Thank you for being so gentle with the children. I wouldn't have done it that way. I think the children sometimes would, run off when they had my car coming through the gate. But for Daddy, it was something different. But you led them by example, and that was adequate. You never raised your voice or finger at them or anyone, but one look was enough. They learned to know when you looked at them what you really desired. For your grandchildren, they really adored you, and they are going to miss you. Those sessions of chocolate eating, I think Mark has lost a market. Because most of these chocolates were being brought by Uncle Mark. I think that the grandchildren will have to find another source, and perhaps Uncle Mark will be supplying them. I also thank you that you made my friends your best friends. In fact, some of my best friends now are more close to you than they were to me. I have Auntie Peg here and Susan Owino here and the late Pamela Ngure. They somehow got going as friends so closely, and Pamela used to come and visit him even when I'm not there. May Pamela's soul rest in peace. I also want to say that You're gone, but you taught us a lot. We see you in everything in the house, in the compound, and I hope that we will keep your legacy going. We've done these celebrations for you in the way we thought best. I hope that in the process, it has not surprised anybody or offended anybody, but we were doing it for the person that we know. Some of you may not know him that well, but we knew him and we knew what he loved. So in case we have done this contrary to what others expected, please accept it as it is. We just pray that Daddy appreciates what we have done wherever he is. But I want still to thank you, mourners, for being here to celebrate with us. Turning back to you as I say goodbye, my dearest Joel. People had so many names for you, and each of them with its own significance. I just wonder the name that the angels in heaven have received you with. But I want to remind the angels that all these names are precious and describes a great man. Your parents named you Mudhune. You were baptized Joel in this church, but over the years you acquired other names. Others called you Anyango, others calls you Pungo, others calls you Ogwech, as you are popular known by your peers. Others calls you Kanyar High. The other day I was told he's called Kanyar High because her mother came of Kalanyo, and Kalanyo people were more advanced, so they were high. So that's the original name. Wood Mikal. Okeugi Owoda. Owoda was known legendary to be that was his uncle from Kalanyo, to be a very, very fierce man, a no-nonsense man. Maybe that's part of his nature. Now I hear Tim says that Pungo, they corrupted it to mean Panjo. So for your nephews who loved you so dearly and you love them, it's known as Panjo. You are in professional line, everybody knows you as engineer, and you have lived up to that name. One time we were having a rambe here for the school, and somebody kept on referring to me as Mrs. Engineer, and I was wondering whom he was calling. So for others, engineer, that is now another name that you are carrying on to heaven, and I think God blessed you, and you had a good education, and you use that to have impact on others. We thank God and we thank you. And the younger generation, and I want to recognize the younger generation here because it's a lesson to learn. The younger generation simply referred to him as Uncle Joel. Simply as Uncle Joel, and our house is always full with the friends of my daughters, friends of my son, and they become like part of our family. They've had quality time with the engineer. And when it came to the time of this loss, they all swarmed in the home, took up responsibilities, And this committee actually was run by young people with a few advisors like Daktari and Engineer Tonglo, very few. And Mrs. Jamasai asked her, please keep an eye on those people because sometimes they can run away with their ideas. But I appreciate you, John. I appreciate all the young people who are in that committee. You've done a good job. I also want to thank Jodala, who have been very supportive on the ground, and the local administration, led by the MCA, the chief, the security, and just everybody who heard about this and decided to lend a hand. Thank you very much. And I think, you know, I was once a teacher, so maybe I could talk and talk. I better end it there. Farewell. Farewell, Joel. Farewell, Daddy. Farewell, Baba Nyango. I don't know why it's not Baba anybody else, but I think it's also Baba Tieno, Baba Amondi, and Baba Toti. So we bid farewell to you, but we take courage that you are a courageous man. You fought the fight, and you won the battle, and we can only release you to go and rest. May God bless you.
Till we meet, till we meet, till we meet at Jesus' feet. Oh, till we meet, till we meet. God be with you till we meet again.
Erokamano Mama Susan, Nyasaye ma jang'wono mondo omiu teko gi family mondo kuchako ngima to ng'wono mare mondo dhi kodu. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Kinde mwachope okang' ma wantiere ni, koro wadwaro mondo wawachni wadwaro mondo wawinj wach Nyasaye. Kapok wawinjo wach Nyasaye, wadwaro recognize betie mar Reverend Cheche from the Diocese of Maseno South. No biro gi team mare kage aseme. Erokamano. Wantiere gi Canon Adolwa, who is the vicar in Nairobi. Karibu Canon, you have been with us. May God bless you. Kende gedwa kao thuolo ni wadwa mondo wa recognize betie mar Archbishop Bogno from CCA. Owacho no somo gi otiyo gi engineer for many years. Erokamano, Nyasaye mondo gwedhi kuom biro mondo ibed kodwa. Kindegi adwa mondo arwak jaduong' Bishop. Erokamano Baba.
Thank you, the Reverend Millicent, Mama Susan, together with your children and the grandchildren, family members, friends, and relatives. We do want to convey our condolences to you on behalf of the Anglican Diocese of Maseno West, where Engineer was a member. And we pray that God gives you the strength to pass through this. Before I welcome my predecessor, Joseph, let me bring to you my brother Charles from the Diocese of Maseno West, just to convey his Maseno South, just to convey his condolences. Then after that, we will all rise to sing a song which I will refer you to in your programs. It's both in the Luo and in English, as we welcome Baba Joseph to bring the word.
Bishop John, Mama Susan, and the family of Engineer, the family from Seme, friends and relatives, allow me to bring my deepest condolences to the family, especially at this time when we join you in mourning, Engineer. Wagoyo ni Nyasaye erokamano kuom ngima mar Engineer kaka osewachi kendo for the life that he led. I have had occasions to meet Engineer, especially when we have maneno uko seme, when he comes as a son of the home. And I think we've interacted with him on various occasions. And I would confirm that he was a gentleman par excellence. Wabiro kaka jomaseno South nikeche wakelo nyarwa. Donge gimabere musungo. Susan muloso kani, wan kaka Maseno South, we are very proud of her. Kinang'en wabiro ka team Seme, team Rata, and you had seen them. So Susan, we just came to say pole and to assure you that you are in our prayers. May God bless you.